I don't know about you, but I am finding, well, we, Pearl, and I, my cat, are finding this energy very intense. Now, this is a timeless reading, so whenever you find it, it is meant for you. However, at the time of filming, it's like there's 5 planets in Aries or something. It's wild. It's a lot. There's so much happening. Anyways, and I have so many decks on the table, and I have some consistent ones in rotation. That is Princess Pearl the Benevolent, and she has a gigantic cone on, and it makes me feel like she's channeling Lady Gaga. I know I say that every time, but it's pretty cute. Anyways, she's in a decent mood for a lady who's been in a cone for many weeks. Yeah. Anyways, usually I just use the same few decks in rotation and stick with them for a while. And all of a sudden, I felt this really intense urge to go and pick up a whole bunch of decks. Oh, itchy nose. I have a room over there, a second room that has, I think I'm up to like 70 to 75 Oracle and Tarot decks right now, which seems like a lot, but I don't use a lot of them. So now my desk is just covered in decks, and I'm trying to figure out which ones to use. It's felt like a very chaotic energy in the past little while, which is strange because I went for a walk today and it's absolutely gorgeous where I am. It was actually raining quite hard, but I love the rain so much, and I live in a very rainy place, certainly in the springtime. The blossoms are out, the flowers are blooming. It's very much spring has sprung vibes. Again, this is timeless, so if you find this at a different season, that's totally fine. It's meant for you, even if it's like 10 years from when I post it. It's fine. But it was very calm, the energy, even when I walked to the ocean, like somewhat near where I live, and the mist was rolling in off the ocean. It was just so gorgeous, and very few people around because not many people want to go walking, marching around in the rain like I do. And it felt so tranquil. And this is such a different energy. So I'm wondering, like, who and what I am channeling at the moment. Now, I did take out the numerology guidance cards. These ones. Not the most exciting looking deck, but they're quite potent. It's like one statement on each card. And I shuffled, and the one that came out was this one. The Follow Your Dreams card. And it actually made me laugh because, I don't know about you, but I've been feeling like there's this really important point that we're approaching, or for a lot of people, where the work that we're doing doesn't feel very satisfying anymore. And I think that the past maybe 4 or 5 years, people have been questioning, a lot of people have been questioning if they're pursuing the right thing or if what they're pursuing is even worth it, because as technology advances, a lot of jobs are becoming obsolete, and it's very hard to tell which direction things are going to go. You know, AI is going to be integrated into much of what we do, but we don't know to what extent. For example, I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's that video making, like AI video making program, company, app. It's like Sora, something like that. Hey. I think they're shutting down. I could be wrong, but you know, that was a surprise to me. There's at least a pause on it or something, and that seemed like a big company with a lot of potential. And at the same time, I think that level of realism in AI videos is concerning, especially when we're in a time of, you know, confusion and trying to figure out how to hold people accountable who have a lot of power. And like, what do you do in a court case with evidence, but you don't know if it's real evidence or if it's AI? Like, this is complicated. Anyways, when it comes to careers, people are at this choice point. I can feel her eyes like boring into me. Yeah, you. Following our dreams. I think it's like, to a certain extent, people are hesitant because, like, who knows how folks can afford what it is that they need to afford. The cost of living is quite high. And at the same time, with the level of technology we have and the access to tools, like being able to film on your computer or get a cheap microphone, being able to do so much creatively at home with very basic materials, people are considering does it make sense? Not does it make sense. That's the wrong question to ask. Is it the time to follow my dreams? Is it the time to follow your dreams? So there's a lot to unpack there, though, because it depends on what your dreams are. It depends on whether or not that's something you want to monetize. That's a question. You don't have to monetize everything that you enjoy doing. But also, some of the things that you enjoy doing might not even be your dream. Maybe you've never asked yourself what your dream is. This is something that I love talking to people about, because one of the things that has changed my life has been allowing myself to dream bigger or pay attention to the things that I dream about. The thing is, I don't think it's that I wasn't dreaming about bigger things before. It's that I wasn't necessarily allowing myself to consider those as options of things that I could actually do. It's like when you look at social media and people who are doing things that you think are really cool, but it's like you're putting them in a different category of human being and being, well, that person has, they've got the star quality, or they've got the resources, or they've got the time, or they've got the whatever it may be, and like the materials, the tools, those sorts of things. And I think it's getting to a point where we can't really make tons of excuses for ourselves anymore. There are people absolutely blowing up in business and in the arts and in their creativity, all these different categories, just by using their cell phones, right? And not having the microphone. You don't need any of that stuff. It really does boil down to what's the energy that you're bringing. There are tons of folks, and I've done this before too. I should do more of it because it's a weirdly inspiring space. But recording your videos in your car, for some reason, I get a lot of inspiration. And a funny story, a few evenings ago, I was driving around, and I was struck with inspiration to film a video. But where I live, you're not supposed to drive with your camera on. You got to pull over and park somewhere. And I got so self-conscious about parking somewhere because people were out and about. They were wandering around. Oh, pardon me. Oh, channeling. Always channeling. Finding a place to park where there wasn't going to be another human walking around and looking at me. And it's so funny because the channels are always about, self-confidence, identity, stepping into your power, all these things that are super important, I believe in. And also, they're just important for people to get that message. And sometimes I personally feel a bit like a hypocrite because I'll channel a message like that and then be like, huh, what, like who, me, how? It feels so out of alignment sometimes. But then there are other moments when it feels absolutely true and very real, more real than any of the old identities and projections and insecurities that come up. So it's a really interesting place to be in. But was trying to find a place to park so I could stop and film a video that was very much about personal empowerment. And it's funny because I felt like I drove home with my tail between my legs and it sort of lost the channel too. I lost the message because I got so caught up in trying to figure out where the heck to park. And then the energy was gone. Now, luckily, the energy comes back faster and faster as you shift your identity. You kind of oscillate between frequencies for a while, but your new home base or baseline begins to be the new frequency. You just have to keep being mindful. It's frequency is basically consciousness. It's perspective. It's identity. It's decisions. It's all of those things. So if you practice it and you use your mindfulness to bring you back to that will begin to be your dominant frequency, your dominant consciousness, your dominant identity and baseline. So it is a practice. But ultimately, you can do almost anything. I don't say you can do anything because someone's always going to be in the comments being like, well, you can't do this. Like, okay, yeah, but nuance. Shades of gray. Like, come on. But you can do almost anything. Maybe if you're 90 years old, you're probably not going to become an astronaut. That would probably be very hard on the body and be difficult to do. However, you can pursue other dreams, many other dreams that you may have forgotten, or dreams that you didn't realize that you had. But now that we are in this time of easy access to so much technology and connection to one another, this is an option. You can follow your dreams. But my question for you is, what is your dream? Like, what is actually your dream? I keep wanting to say, like, get real about it, but it's like bringing the Delulu into reality. Something about Delulu has always kind of like, not rubbed me the wrong way, but it's just like, it hasn't fully resonated, and I realized recently why that is. Because I'm a firm believer these days, because it's been very transformative in my own life. Let me know if it has been for you. But to allow yourself to dream much bigger to an extent that seems almost delusional, like you got to think really big and be willing to risk disappointment. It takes a very brave person to dream bigger, because people in your life who want the best for you will poke holes in your dream because they're worried about you being disappointed, or whether or not that makes sense, or if it's a safe path. Pardon me, sorry. Ugh. I always feel like when I'm channeling, it's the itchy nose or it's the yawning, because I'm not actually tired. But you have to be a very daring and brave person to allow yourself to have a vision. We can daydream all day long, but I'm talking about dreaming as in future casting, future dreaming as a vision for your life, as something that starts to create a plan, an unfolding, because you let it be real as an option in your reality, in your world, in your story. There's so much more out there, and it doesn't mean not being content with what it is that you have. It's about acknowledging that you are allowed to experience other things in your life. You can. Now, whether or not you want to is up to you, but it's figuring out what do you desire and putting aside the limits that you've put on yourself that others have projected onto you, suspending your disbelief for a moment and really letting yourself go for it. Because when you do, there's neuroscience and research behind this. Your unconscious, not your conscious mind. It knows when something is your imagination. Your unconscious, which is running 90% of the programs, 90% of the behaviors, 90% of what's going on in your brain, you're not consciously aware of. So when we say the subconscious, it's not like really that out there or woo-woo. It's just the part of your brain that's not actively aware of itself, but it's still working all the time, and it's influencing your behaviors, your patterns, your habits, the identity that has become a habit for you because it's familiar. You are able to expand your horizons when you allow yourself to think bigger, and it impacts this subconscious mind that can't tell the difference. I always use this example. It's why you jump when you watch a horror film and then you laugh about it after. Your unconscious or your subconscious mind jumps because it's so connected to what it is that you're watching that it is convinced that that's reality. So it jumps, it gets scared. And then you laugh because the conscious mind that knows that it's just a movie knows, haha, I just laughed at something that's not real. But that's a really good example of those two types of consciousness. Because your unconscious mind can't tell the difference between a vivid imagination and something that is real, or even like a memory or like a future memory, which is like future casting. This is so powerful. You can train yourself to believe, and eventually we want to get to the point of conviction, because belief actually implies a separation between you and the thing. And when we get really deep into manifestation, like effective manifestation that works, it boils down to certainty and conviction. But like, it's a process to get there. You can use this tool to your advantage, but you've got to let yourself figure out what the heck your dream is in the first place. I know it sounds cheesy, but I am a big fan of vision boards. I call it manifestation boards because I have one where I put the vision of the manifestations that I desire, and then I also have one called Manifested, which is where I start to put images from the original board to the board that indicates that I have manifested that thing, and I am developing proof. I am showing myself I did manifest that thing. And the bigger that board gets, the more and more convinced I am, because sometimes your logical mind needs that proof, whereas your subconscious mind doesn't. It can just believe in something as being available to it. So I have so many decks of cards, and I'm literally just talking about the one that I pulled before. Think about it. You've got this moment where to consider different options is welcome. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe you can't find one. Maybe your living situation has changed. Maybe you're wanting to change locations. Maybe you're wanting to change up your self-image. Maybe you're wanting to just choose differently for your life, and you're at this point where everything else in your life is starting to fall apart or just feel really uncomfortable, or like, you've grown, but you've outgrown wherever it is that you are right now, or whatever, outfit or role that you've been playing, your costume, you've outgrown it, but it's uncomfortable because you haven't yet changed it for something else. You are in this magical, pivotal moment in your life where you are on the precipice of something really big. And I know we've talked about this before, certainly in past readings, about being on the edge of something new, but this is it's like a whole new life, because it's a whole new person. Now, it's you at your core. You come into this world with an original essence. It's the you-ness. It's really, I don't think we come into this world tabula rasa. This means blank slate. And then we only develop personality or, unique characteristics based upon our experiences as a child and onwards. I actually don't believe that. I believe that we come into this world with something in our, in our DNA, in our nervous system's memory, because if you are, you develop from an egg, that egg is inside of the the reproductive system of a female baby, right? So you've actually got 3 generations: the grandmother, who is a mother in that moment, and the mother, who is the infant, but that we have all the eggs that we're going to have in a lifetime, when we are developing in the womb. So it's 3 generations. As such, the experiences of the person who's carrying the baby, all 3 generations, their bodies, their systems, their DNA is experiencing the same experience at that DNA level. So I don't think we come in as blank slates. Then you can get into the spiritual side, which is, maybe past lives. We can really go down the rabbit hole with this. Let's not bother going there right now in this conversation. It's a whole other can of worms. But I really do believe that there's an opportunity for you right now to make a really big shift. Now, it doesn't mean that you change everything about your life, because here's the thing. You can be on your way to a completely different reality, but the starting point is the same. When it comes to manifestation or, shifting timelines, quantum leaps, all that kind of stuff, it's not as if you make the decision and then all of a sudden you just dissolve and then materialize on the other side of the world on a beach in Bali, if that's the vision that you had for yourself. Even if you identity shifted to the version of you that has that reality, you're not there yet. You can still be that person, that version of you, but they are starting from the starting point that you are currently in right now. You are faced with the challenge of being that version of you in the current place that you're in, with the current connections and relationships that you have, with the current job or lack thereof, with the current wardrobe, with the current pre-existing mindsets, and the new ones that you're bringing in, because they are the mindsets and beliefs of the new identity. And if you want that future where you are on the beach in Bali doing whatever it is that you want to do there, you still have to start here. You don't just magically materialize over there. Wouldn't that be great? You've got work to do here. And work isn't always tons of action, though action is a part of manifestation, but it is frequency first. I've had that written on a sticky note, like on my mirror. I've moved it to above my desk. Frequency first. Now, I know a lot of people say follow the plan and not your mood. Fair enough, but your mood isn't your frequency. Your frequency is your identity. It's your belief system. It's the choices that you make based upon who you've decided that you are. And that version of you can have bad mood, and they still do the thing that that version of you needs to do in order to have the thing that it is that you want. You got to ask yourself at a certain point, like, do you want it? Do you want that thing? To the extent that you will do what it is that needs to be done in order to have it, but also to be that person. And that can be so scary in the beginning. Identity shifting is not for the faint of heart. And at the same time, I don't believe really in the faint of heart. I think everyone is capable if they choose to engage with a different level of consciousness. And it's shifting all the time. It's not like you make one final decision and you're like, this is it. I am now that person. It is practicing. And this is why I don't like to say fake it till you make it. It's practice it until you become it. Faking it implies that you never actually change your identity. You're just pretending, right? It's like being a regular actor versus a method actor, who is someone who does not break character for the entire time that they are, in that role, filming that movie. There's a different energy between the level of commitment between the actor who's faking being that person versus the method actor who does not break character. And that is in order to maintain that identity the whole way through till the movie's done. And you could say until the manifestation takes place. And hopefully by that point, there is no going back when it comes to the identity, because you're on a roll. Why would you go back to who and what you were before? So you're not faking. You're becoming a new incarnation, a new version of you. It's still you. I think there's a lot of pushback sometimes about the identity shifting thing, because it can feel like you're denying who it is that you are. It's not. If anything, it's accepting who you are. And from that place of acceptance of who you are, you recognize what things are not you that you've been carrying, thinking that they are, because you've taken on people's projections, other people's society's projections, expectations. And then when you accept who you really are, you recognize where you're being inauthentic. And so you start to let the things that are not authentic to you fall away. And then from that place, when you really get to the core, that original essence, here's the thumb, that original essence doesn't go anywhere as you shift into new versions of yourself. It's just that version of you, that self that you are, is expanding, is growing, is changing, and leveling up. But it's still you. So I'm not even using any of these cards. We're just going with the follow your dreams card, because I think this is your invitation to figure out what it is that, pay attention to what it is you've been dreaming about. Maybe dreams when you're sleeping, but what about your daydreams? What do you fantasize about that could actually be your reality? It's delusion now. It's the Lulu is the Salulu. That's the first step. But then real manifestation, powerful, skilled manifestation, alchemy, becoming the director of your own life, writing it, if you will. That comes from recognizing that it's not delusional to the version of you that can have it, will have it, and already has it. Can have it is allowing yourself to dream. Will have it is, these thumbs up, will have it is the one who believes that they can. Right? You can have it and not believe, so then you don't do anything. You can believe that you can, and then you start taking steps. And then the person who accepts the consciousness of, I will have it, sorry, I do have it. It's like, there are levels to this. Can, will, do have it. There's a version of you in consciousness that has it. That is an energy that you need to get to. Whether or not the multiverse exists, yet to be determined. Science at the quantum level, physics is indicating that this is actually kind of likely, which is very cool and really trippy and hard to explain. We can talk about it another time. But to get to a level of conviction where it's not just believing that you can have something, because believing actually creates a degree of separation between you and the thing energetically. Because obviously, physically, you are separate from the thing. It hasn't unfolded yet with where you're at in the movie. The scene that you're in, you are not currently connected to the manifestation in the physical form, but there's also the mental, right? And then there's the energetic, and those things are still real. Just because something that exists as a frequency has not yet materialized doesn't mean that it's not real. It just exists in a field of potentiality. This is quantum physics, and it's truly the coolest thing I've ever heard. But things don't solidify into physical form, into matter, unless consciousness interacts with them, and then the waveform collapses into physical form. So there's more than just physical reality. So everything was an idea, a thought before, and then it materialized, right? So if that's the case, you have this incredible, powerful thing that I don't know if other species have. They have the ability to potentially imagine, like, they have forethought, so they can predict when there's threat and then think about how to respond. But imagination, in terms of it being a tool to create a vision for your life, or potentially connect to a vision of maybe something that's already happening. It's a potential reality, and you tuning yourself to that level of consciousness, frequency, and identity allows you to align with it and make it inevitable. It's that certainty that is the most important thing when it comes to manifestation of your dreams. So this is when the following your dreams thing doesn't seem so out there anymore. It actually seems doable. Why? Because Delulu becomes inevitable. It's not delusional anymore. But you got to start somewhere. What feels like a dream can become the plan. What feels like a fantasy can become the vision of the future, of what you have decided for yourself. And you don't get to know within what amount of time or how exactly it's going to unfold. Like, we don't, why would you read the book? Why would you watch the movie? What would be the point of, following a TV series if you knew everything that was going to happen? You only get to be on one still from the film, or in one scene at a time. There's a reason for that. Why else would we be doing this? Kind of makes you wonder why we're here. I haven't seen the film Interstellar, but I did talk about it in a previous video, and I will watch it very soon. But I read an analysis of it because I found it really fascinating. And there's a scene in it where the main character goes through a black hole and winds up in something called a tesseract. And it's supposed to be sort of demonstrating, like, what he sees is what you would perceive in the fourth dimension, which is everything all at once, right? Seeing the whole movie as it's playing out, everything happening at the same time, but also not conscious of other parts of it happening at that time because you're only on the one movie still. You're in the one scene at a time, but it doesn't mean that the rest of the movie doesn't exist. I love these ways of thinking, these ways of, I call them thought models, but it's just how you could perceive reality, maybe, and using it as a model in order to live your life in a way that has so much more possibility to it. There's a bit of creativity that can come in when you start to look at things a little bit differently, regardless of whether or not it is proven by science or it isn't, because that is complex science, getting into the quantum stuff. But there's evidence. So use that framework to your advantage. Use it to open up your own mind to possibilities that you haven't allowed yourself to consider before. Get a little delulu. Give yourself it's like, if you can't envision something, how on earth would you plan how to get there? So you need to allow yourself to dream. And then if you want to be really daring, because you want that thing, you want that life, you want that reality, you got to follow it. And no, you don't just instantly get there. Instant manifestation means instant shift internally. That is instant manifestation. It's the manifestation of who you need to be. And it's you. It's just at what level of consciousness, at what perspective, in what role, in what self-concept, at what frequency. When we talk about frequency, it's all the things that I just listed. So I'm not going to pull any other cards. We're going to leave it at that. But I want you to think about it. Before you take the steps to follow your dreams, what are your dreams? Figure that out. Ask yourself that question. We got to do it for the still. I don't know. All of my my thumbnails are really bad. I'm trying to do better ones. Apparently, you just got to hold a card. But it's only delulu until you shift into the version of you where it is natural, it's inevitable, and it's in that naturalness and that inevitability that the manifestations start to happen for you. That is the focus. Frequency first. I love that so much. Write it down. Put it somewhere that you can see it every day. Frequency first, and then action. I hope this helps. I am sending you so much love, and I'll see you in the next one.